Welcome! This video contains an introduction, an interview so you can gain deeper understanding of the subject from spirit level, and a group frequency calibration so you can start to clear the frequency distortion patterns around this topic. Enjoy!
Hi everyone, this is Karen Cheong, and I'm here with my co-host Dennis Kelly. Synergetic Ascension is the new consciousness. Today we're going to be discussing what it is, what it means to you, and how it affects some of the choices that you get to make. After the discussion, we're going to wrap it up with a group frequency calibration to help to begin to clear the distortion patterns around this topic. So let's get started. Dennis?
So Karen, Synergetic Ascension.
Yeah.
Exactly. What is it? And could you tell us why is it important?
Sure.
Why should we understand?
I'd love to.
Well, good. As long as we're here.
Might as well. Okay, so Synergetic Ascension is a term that I use for what is happening currently. So what that means is that consciousness now is at a level where when one person rises in resonance enough, and they start to help others to clear their distortions, and those other people now can rise in resonance, what happens is that creates more stability for the person who first rose to go even higher, which then allows them to pull the people up even more so they can entrain to a higher level, which causes more stability for the person to rise again. The group then rises up. Does that make sense? So it's this constant spiral of awesomeness.
So all boats rise.
All boats are rising. And this is the new consciousness where everybody wins. So in the old paradigm, so I'm just going to contrast it. In the current paradigm, in order for someone to advance, typically, you have to oppress someone else or control them or something, or step on them or whatever, in order to gain more power for self, typically. Yeah? You can see it in corrupt governments, you can see it in the banking system, you can see it in corporations. In the new paradigm, it's all about everybody winning because it's a higher consciousness level. And as a result, I don't need to take from you. In this higher consciousness, we're aware of abundance. There is no scarcity. So when I'm rising, then I can help you rise, which then helps me, right? Because it's creating not only a higher level, right? Because I'm rising to a higher level, which then buoys you. The group then creates more stability, so the person can go higher once again. So that's the new consciousness where now everybody is winning. Everyone is moving up, and there is no cost to anyone. There's no abuse required. There is no oppression. That is the new consciousness.
So it truly is a win-win situation.
Absolutely.
And it can be at just a relationship level,
yeah,
or an organization level,
yep,
or a city, or a state, or the United States, or countries.
Yeah.
So it's truly a win-win.
Yes.
So, is this a new phenomena?
Yes, because consciousness has never been at this level before. And it seems not great right now. Like, I know that the world seems like it's falling apart. There's even more chaos, there's more intolerance and all that stuff. And consciousness is higher than it has been in the past. And that allows certain individuals to be able to propel themselves so that they can clear the distortion patterns, come up to a higher level, and begin that process. So the ones of us who are moving first are the ones to sort of begin the process. But it's already starting to happen in an accelerating rate. This vortex that happens, and the more people that join, the faster and faster it becomes for the collective.
So it sounds like there's really a tremendous impact when you start to have groups come together,
yeah,
of individuals.
Yeah.
So one thing I was thinking about, we're all very much focused on ourselves. So as I do this work, I have my personal concerns, my personal issues and whatever. So maybe what I'd like to do is just work on those. But I think what I'm hearing you say...
You mean in an individual session?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what I think I hear you say is, as a group, if I come to a group, there is a energetic lifting of the whole group.
Yeah, if the mastermind is strong, and so I think you're referring to like a group frequency calibration.
Yes. Yes.
So in that case, the mastermind is very strong, and the whole point of that mastermind is for connection, even greater connection to a higher place, which is pure source, right? So an even higher connection to pure source. So as a result, the group is accelerating, and because there's more mass with that group,
Yeah.
right? It's sort of like getting a train running, right? So it's like takes a while to get started, but then you have the momentum of the train. Similarly, on spirit level, it's the same. So you're meeting, especially if you have somebody who is of a higher resonation and the guide is strong, it can pull the group up, right? So now the whole group is moving towards a higher level, and you can get more momentum. So we tend to get stuck in our ruts. We tend to get stuck at a certain level of growth sometimes for many people. You can use the momentum of the group to break out of that, because you can't help it. The group's pulling you, right? And you're part of it. So it will help you to go beyond sometimes, beyond where you could go individually. Now, individual sessions are great in some degree because they tweak, right? They're like tweaking. They're more refined in a way. However, what I'll say is the magic of frequency work is when you're with the group that you're with, the mastermind, it's unlikely that it is a random group of people. Likely that group has very similar distortion patterns to you. And when I'm working on the group and I'm working on the subgroups within it, a lot of your issues will be addressed. So that was sort of a long answer to your question.
So I'd like to ask a couple questions around the GFC, because that's something that you do quite a bit of.
Yeah.
And so the first question I've got is, do I need to physically be present to win?
No.
You know, do we have to be in the same room at the same location, or, you know, a lot of what you do is...
Yeah, it's over the phone. The reason that works is because, yes, so to answer your question, you don't physically have to be proximate to me. If you can be physically proximate to me, some people have said that that can be more accelerating because you're physically proximate to me. I don't know why. And also, the group is stronger because we're all physically proximate to each other. Is it required? No.
Yeah.
I mean, is it an incremental gain? Yes. But is it necessary? No. And the reason I say that is because, for example, in my Sedona event that we just gave recently, what happened was that was an extraordinarily strong mastermind. So we had, I think, more people streaming online than we did physically present. But the people online were tapped into the mastermind, and they never physically were even close to us. They were from all over the world. And yet, they felt the momentum of that mastermind. And I received many emails saying, wow, this is really strong and we're moving really fast. So no, you don't have to be physically proximate at all to benefit.
So the other question I've got, and I'm glad to hear that. So the other question is, so you record these GFCs.
Yeah, deep dives events.
So I can't make it at 9 o'clock Central Time. So I plan to listen to it maybe 2 days later.
Yeah.
Has it lost its edge?
No, not at all. Because when you enter the mastermind, what's happening is that I work beyond time-space in the eternal now. So I've pulled all of you into a very specific space, if I'm doing things correctly. And not only that, because I work in the timeless, what happens is that you're all pulled in, so it doesn't matter when you listen to it. Like if you listen to it 2 years from now, if you listen to it at the same time, it doesn't matter. And also what happens is, it's like I work in the timeless, and there's a time loop created because we are also in linear time. Okay, so things on the spirit plane aren't linear. They don't just happen like one after another. Multiple things can happen at the same time, even if sometimes they seem at odds with each other. So I know it sounds weird for me to talk about the timeless and the eternal now and then linear time, but they can kind of happen coincidentally, if that makes sense. So I'm working in the timeless, but what's happening is there's a time loop that's created when that event was given, and it doesn't matter when you listen to it, you get pulled into that time loop. So it's as if you were listening to it with us at that particular linear point in time.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, fantastic.
So when I started creating the GFCs for this series, it was a really good practice, I had to go into the timeless and feel the mastermind, like work on the mastermind that had not gelled yet because I had not yet launched this. So that was a really interesting experience to feel that, to work on the master. Does that make sense? It has not yet existed in linear time, but it exists in the timeless. So that's so it doesn't matter, is my point.
Yeah.
It does not matter when you listen
So,
to it.
you know, what I just thought of when you said that was, in listening to your GFCs, a lot of times at the beginning, you're kind of bringing that mastermind together.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you're just waiting, waiting, waiting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now it's
We got it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
We've gelled.
Yeah.
So It's, you know, so
yeah, it's like everyone's jumped on. Do you remember those things? I don't know if you had these in a park, but there used to be these little spinny things and they're metal, and you would push it, and everyone would push it, and it would spin, and then everyone would step in faster and faster, and then everyone would jump on, and then it would be spinning.
merry-go-round.
Merry-go-round, yeah. I used to love those things. I'm waiting for the last one to jump onto the merry-go-round, and then I'm like, okay, now we're all spinning at the right rate. Now we're going.
That's perfect.
That's
good.
That's
I've
what
got
it is.
that.
So that's what I'm waiting for. I'm like, and everyone's on. Okay, let's go.
That. So let's circle all the way back to the ascension.
Okay.
That you were talking about. Any other thoughts around that? You were talking about how it's kind of all boats rise. As, you know, one kind of takes off and then the others support. And
Yeah.
Is there any other thoughts around that?
Yeah, so what I'll just mention, and briefly, because I think this is probably a larger topic that we'll address in a different episode.
Okay.
But because this is part of the new consciousness that's coming in is of a higher vibration. Okay? This idea of synergetic ascension is a fragment of what is possible when that new consciousness comes in. And what I mean by that is when you have consciousness at a higher level, you don't think so much in terms of me versus them, or me versus the earth, or me, like there's less of like the individuated sense of separateness. That starts to drop away. So therefore, just imagine for a moment that if you were aware more of the oneness, so you realize that what you did to me impacts you. It really does.
Would I do it?
Would you do it? Exactly. Would you do it? Because you're like, oh, actually, that really doesn't. I know, exactly. So you'd be different in terms of your approach to other, because you realize, oh, wait a minute, what I do matter. Or even how we treat the earth. You're like, oh, we're all part of, wait a minute, oneness. That's part of the earth is part of me. Okay. So, right? So how we react to the earth or how we treat the earth becomes very different. So synergetic ascension is it's like the beginning of the, the tip of that wave, or the beginning of that wave of like, okay, well, this is the harbinger of what is coming in terms of the new consciousness, where we don't need to have these lower levels anymore. We just, and we'll talk about that because it's a much bigger topic.
That is.
Actually.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to get too into it,
Yep.
but to answer your question, that's what it is, which is really exciting, and it's what many of us have been waiting for a very long time.
Wow. Well, Karen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Karen, could you help me? I hear so often when I look at your video or your website, GFC. Exactly what is that?
A GFC is a group frequency calibration, which looks a lot like a guided meditation on a particular topic. And what I'm doing is I'm helping you to remove the distortion patterns of that particular topic. And because you're coming together as a mastermind in a group to connect to pure source even more and to clear the distortion patterns of this particular topic, what happens is a tremendous amount of momentum starts to happen because of the energetic of the entire group, and each individual is able to move faster and ascend higher than they could have on their own.
Welcome everyone to the Group Frequency Calibration for Synergetic Ascension. All right. So everyone become aware, please, of the space between your heart space in the center of your chest, in your nipple line, all the way down to your belly button. Yes, and as you become aware of that space, taking a deep breath in, holding it for a count of 5, and whenever you're ready, releasing that breath and holding it out for a count of 6. Noticing how long of a count you chose, and also if it was easier to hold your breath in or out. Just noticing what you're choosing only somewhat consciously. And whilst we wait for the mastermind to gel, everyone who's completed that one breath, bring your attention to your heart space. In the center of your chest, in your nipple line. So for those of you who are new, please note that I'm working on you at the group and the subgroup level, and that I'll be making noises on my end. So you'll likely hear me yawn, or exhale sharply, or hum. That's just my way of removing the distortion patterns. And sometimes, or actually more and more, I'm working in silence, especially as I work with higher frequencies, because they require more focus, which is a good thing for you, not the more focus on my part, but the higher level frequencies, because it allows me to remove more distortion patterns more quickly with less detox for you. So if you don't hear anything on my end, it's not that I haven't gone anywhere. I'm just working on you in silence. And if I say something that resonates with you, it's likely yours. And if I say something that you really resist, like it couldn't possibly be you, it's likely yours. So I invite you to be open to that possibility and to explore it. Good. And now that the mastermind has gelled, continuing to keep your focus in the heart space. Let's go ahead and ask ourselves the following question. How can I become even more aware of my connection only to pure source? And that question again is, how can I become even more aware of my connection only to pure source? And as you ask yourself that question, please imagine, sense, feel, or become aware of a brilliance deep, deep at the center of your body that starts to get brighter and even more brilliant because you have your attention awareness focused on it. And as this brilliance intensifies, it expands out through your cells, through your organs, through your flesh, radiating out through the pores of your skin into the space between your physical body and your spirit body, which is a sphere at arm's length all around you. Good. And as you focus on this brilliance, which is you in your connection with pure source, it intensifies so much that the sphere starts to oscillate. Very nice. And what I'm doing as you are focusing on the sphere is I'm working on source level to bring you up one level in terms of your natural bandwidth or capacity for pure source frequencies. Very nice. Keeping your attention, focus, awareness in your heart space. What I'm going to do is I'm going to amplify the frequencies of the new consciousness that's coming in. So it will be of a higher order. Just keeping your awareness here in your heart space. Good. That is important to do so that you can entrain into that consciousness, which is of a higher order, irrespective of where you are. And we can move more quickly into it and into the win-win paradigm that it is, and to drop the lower frequency or dense patterns of abuse, control, greed, that type of thing. Good. So now, bringing your attention, please, to the top of your skull, the top part of your brain, and your eyes, and the space behind your eyes. Yeah. So this is a resistance to or discomfort with, or to some of you, fear of this new consciousness, because you don't know what it is. So that's very human and reasonable. And we're moving into it, whether we want to or not. So might as well just remove the distortion pattern so we can grow from it, or at least have the option, as opposed to being bound in our discomfort or resistance or worry or fear. So pulling this out. Good, and bringing your attention, please, now to your xiphoid process, right at the base of your sternum. So your sternum is that big, thick bone in the center of your chest, where your ribs meet in front of your body. Right at the base of it, there's a fleshy point that when you press on it is a bit tender. That is your xiphoid process. So this is the pattern of control. It's very difficult to be in the new consciousness with this. So whether you are controlling or are controlled or both, we need to remove this pattern for you to be more in the new consciousness. Yeah. And now in the lower belly, please. So between the pubic bone and about 2 inches above your belly button. So this is a distortion pattern of struggle, that you have to struggle, work hard, do I don't know how many hours of meditation or whatever you feel like you need to do in order to be deserving of getting into the new consciousness. So these are distortion patterns of struggle and also low self-worth, non-deserving, both running in this part of your body, which is not allowing you to access synergetic ascension or the new consciousness very well. So let's remove this. Yep. Good. And as you're complete with that, bringing your attention to your heart space. So this is an oversensitivity to the emotional state of the collective. Okay? So as we move into synergetic ascension, there's a lot of instability that is caused because we're moving into a new consciousness. And therefore, there's a lot of emotional instability that happens within the collective as this new consciousness comes in. So giving you more space between you and the collective consciousness. Sometimes when we feel things, we assume they are ours, but oftentimes they are not. So sometimes when you feel a strong emotion, especially if it's negative, ask yourself, is this mine? You'd be surprised what shows up as answers for people. Very good. Bring your attention now, please, to your solar plexus, between your belly button and the base of your sternum. I'm going to work on your pain bodies for a bit here, because I've been working with really high frequencies and some of your pain bodies are going a little crazy, so just helping you integrate all of this. Okay? Very good. All right. Taking a deep breath in, holding it for a second or two, and then releasing it with some sound like yeah. Good. This brings us to the end of this session. I look forward to working with you on the next GFC. These GFCs help people release distortion patterns. It's my sincere hope that you benefit profoundly from this series, which is why I spend so much of my personal resources creating these as my gift to the world. If a GFC topic resonates with you, often more work that can be provided in this one GFC is needed to really clear or loosen deeply held distortion patterns in areas that are sticky. Because these patterns are like layers of an onion, usually there are multiple layers to individual topics. Depending on how much of a challenge this topic is for you, it may make sense for you to go deeper than what this session allows. If you feel this is the case for you, please visit sphericalluminosity.com for more targeted support.